was police brutality. He was mentally ill.
Parole? Well, I want my sister. Let's trade.
Or defendants serve a term of life without parole.
My lawyer told me I made the news in the UK and Australia.
In 2005, Boston, Massachusetts became the backdrop for a dramatic and shocking criminal case involving Esteban Carpio. Carpio, who was being interrogated in connection with the stabbing of 85-year-old Madeline Gata, managed to turn a routine questioning into a scene of chaos and horror. During his interrogation, one of the detectives, Detective Sergeant James L. Allen, left the room briefly to fetch a cup of water for Carpio. This brief absence would prove to be catastrophic. Seizing the opportunity, Carpio quickly grabbed Allen's gun, shot him twice, and killed him. In a desperate bid for freedom, Carpio then leaped from the third-floor window of the interview room. The ensuing police chase was intense, but ultimately successful. Carpio was apprehended approximately an hour later. His capture was a relief to the public, but the case took another shocking turn when he appeared in court the next day. To prevent any further incidents, Carpio was made to wear a white mask designed to prevent spitting or biting, but the mask also made him nearly unrecognizable. His injuries, including a red forehead and swollen facial features, were the result of his dramatic leap from the window. The court's decision was severe. Carpio was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. His family's reaction was equally dramatic. They vehemently protested, accusing the police of brutality and arguing that Carpio, who had a history of mental illness, deserved treatment rather than incarceration.
It was police brutality. He was mentally ill, and he needed help, and we couldn't get it. We tried and tried, and he didn't deserve it.
Despite their claims, the FBI's investigation concluded that the police's use of force was justified given the circumstances. Carpio's injuries were consistent with the force needed to subdue him after his struggle with the officers and his daring escape attempt. The tragic story of Portia Brooks. In 2013, the peaceful moment shared by Portia Brooks and her boyfriend, Aaron Martin, was violently disrupted in Norwood. The couple was sitting in their parked car when 19-year-old Smith Riley, along with two accomplices, approached them with the intent to rob them. The encounter quickly turned violent when Riley ordered Aaron out of the car and, finding no valuables on him, shot him in the head. Riley then turned his gun on Portia, shooting her as well. Aaron survived but was left with permanent brain damage. Tragically, Portia succumbed to her injuries 3 days later. The case remained unresolved until 2016, when a tip from Crime Stoppers led to Riley's arrest. He was charged with aggravated murder, attempted murder, aggravated robbery, and 2 counts of felonious assault. Facing the possibility of a death sentence, Riley pled guilty to the charges to avoid capital punishment. The courtroom was charged with emotion as Portia's family delivered their victim impact statements.
Me, mentally, emotionally, he killed my identity as a mother of 3, as a family of 4. This is what I have left because of his greed, his selfishness, his complete disregard of and disrespect of others and life. This is what I have left. I talk to her, I kiss her, I hold her, but as you can see, I get nothing back except the reality that she is gone. Parole? Well, I want my sister. Let's trade. I have to deal with life without Portia, so he should deal with life without parole.
They described the profound and lasting pain caused by Riley's actions, emphasizing the irreparable damage to their lives. Despite Riley's guilty plea, his actions had left a permanent scar on the victims' families.
Or defendants serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4, the offense of attempted murder.
The high-speed chase of Ryan. In a case that seemed straight out of an action movie, Ryan hijacked a car with a 4-year-old inside just outside a gas station in Longmont. What followed was a high-speed chase spanning 60 miles and lasting 90 minutes. Ryan led the police on a dangerous pursuit that involved multiple crashes and the hijacking of several vehicles. The chase ended when Ryan was caught running on foot after causing significant damage to the stolen vehicle. During his trial, Ryan made headlines for his brazen attitude. He boasted to a female visitor that his car chase had made international news and even mentioned the possibility of earning money from YouTube views.
Yeah, my lawyer told me I made the news in the UK and Australia.
However, his bravado was short-lived. When Ryan appeared in court, his demeanor had drastically changed. He became tearful and claimed that his actions were influenced by drug use. His family testified about his struggle with addiction and pleaded for the court to consider him as a troubled young man rather than a violent criminal. Despite these pleas, Ryan was sentenced to 160 years in prison after being convicted on 18 counts, including attempted manslaughter and car theft. Ryan's case highlighted the tragic intersection of drug addiction and criminal behavior, as well as the challenge of addressing both in the justice system. His initial boasts and later attempts to explain his actions were stark reminders of how addiction can distort reality and lead to devastating consequences. Michael Madison's cold-blooded crimes. Michael Madison's case stands out as a horrifying example of cold-blooded criminality. Madison was responsible for the abduction and murder of 3 individuals whose bodies he discarded in garbage bags. His violent upbringing was cited as a factor in his criminal behavior, but it did not excuse his actions. During the trial, Cheryl DeTerry's father was particularly affected by Madison's lack of remorse. As he approached Madison to deliver his victim impact statement, Madison's malicious smile provoked a dramatic outburst from Terry's father. He lunged at Madison, resulting in a temporary court disturbance and a 15-minute delay. Fortunately, the police intervened in time to prevent further violence. In the end, Madison was sentenced to death, with the judge declaring that life imprisonment would be too lenient for someone with his level of cruelty.
I am struck by the sheer inhumanity of what one human being can do to not one, but 3 human beings. It is incomprehensible. You cajoled, lured, and deceived Shatisha Shealy, Angela Deskins, and Cheryl DeTerry to your apartment for your depraved purposes. You went on to abuse the corpses of these 3 victims. You stripped them from the waist down. You folded them in half, binding them so that their feet were up by their ears.
Madison's complete lack of remorse throughout the trial further emphasized the need for a severe punishment. Brian Manson's violent home invasion. Brian Manson's criminal history had seen him appear before Judge Eugene Lucci multiple times, including for a juvenile case in 1999. However, his latest offense, a violent home invasion and robbery while on parole, was more severe. Manson, along with an accomplice, broke into a victim's home, held them at gunpoint, and stole their valuables. Given his extensive criminal record and the severity of the current charges, Manson faced a maximum sentence of 30 years. Although the judge found Manson genuinely remorseful, his outburst in court, where he swore at the judge and called him racist, led to an increase in his sentence. Originally sentenced to 22 years, Manson's behavior resulted in an additional 6 years, bringing his total to 28 years in prison. Manson's reaction was a stark reminder of how anger and defiance in court can impact sentencing decisions. Manson's defense attorney argued that his client's actions were regrettable and emotional, noting that Manson had shown remorse throughout the trial. However, the judge's decision was influenced by Manson's outburst and lack of control.
And that he wasn't remorseful at all, and that if given the chance, if I let him loose on society, he's going to prey on other people.
These cases illustrate a range of reactions and responses to criminal convictions, from dramatic escapes and high-speed chases to cold-blooded murders and emotional outbursts in court. Each case reveals the complex interplay between criminal behavior, personal circumstances, and the justice system's responses. Whether through shocking acts of violence or dramatic courtroom reactions, these stories underscore the profound impact of crime on individuals and communities. Which of these stories had the most significant impact on you? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting contents like these.